and welcome to episode 8 of the Staycation Summer Series, an exploration of New Brunswick. I'm Jenna Morton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor, and each week this summer we're inviting a new guest to the show to share their love of this province.
We have met some of the best local ambassadors from around New Brunswick. We've listened to their tips for what to see and do, where to stay and eat, and just what there is to love about their community.
So today we head to the northwest of the province and welcome Tobi Pirie to the podcast. She's the tourism and event coordinator for the town of Woodstock. Welcome to the Pickle Planet Staycation Summer Series.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, I am so excited for this episode because I think your area is one of the most underrated, misunderstood areas of the province, especially for people, I think, down here in like the southern part of it where we are. I think we forget how much fantastic stuff there is. So we are so excited for you to tell us all about Woodstock.
Okay, so Woodstock was actually founded in 1856. So we've kind of taken the tagline as New Brunswick's first town compared to New Brunswick's oldest town. We wanted to be first. So we have a lot of great historical buildings located in our downtown, residential and commercial. We actually have a heritage walking tour, which is all self-guided. So you can either go to our website and pick up a copy of the guide, or we have them at the town office at 824 Main Street or at the Air Motor Center at 105 Connell Park Road. Also downtown, we have a kiosk that has those in it as well. So it'll take you probably about 45 minutes to do the heritage tour. And it starts at Connell House and it ends at the L.P. Fisher Public Library. So those are both historical buildings that are prominent in our town. Connell House being home to the Carleton County Historical Society. But it also has its own story behind it because the Honorable Charles Connell lived in this house. And at the time, he was a postmaster who put his own face on a stamp instead of the Queen. Actually, those were destroyed, but there are a few copies that are around, and Connell House actually has a copy of the stamp. The LP, yeah, so it's and Connell House has all kinds of different things in it that you can explore. Obviously, though, because of the situation we're in this summer, they're not able to see the upstairs due to there's only one way in and one way out. But if anyone's interested in seeing Connell House and the veranda and stuff, it's all by appointment. But the other location is the L.P. Fisher Public Library. So L.P. Fisher, Louis Peter Fisher, was the first mayor of the town when it was incorporated. And he was the mayor for 24 years. And when he died, he left money to the town. So there was 4 buildings that were established. And the L.P. Fisher Public Library, which also has an addition to it known as the Thompson Center, was left to the town. So that building is over 100 years old. They celebrated their 100th anniversary a few years ago, and that's where our library is, and also where you can get do some genealogy and story time and all kinds of different things. So those are very 2 important buildings that are in our town that have been preserved and have activities that go on them. And then we have, of course, great festivals. We have what's known as the Dooryard Arts Festival, and this would have been its 10th year. And when they bring in all kinds of different genres of music, usually for a 3-day festival. And then this week actually would have been what is known as our Old Home Week, which is in its 65th year. Which brings in agricultural activities, also a midway, home to the Miss New Brunswick pageant. Of course, well, we have lawnmower races and all those great activities that you can do as a family. But again, due to COVID-19 that everyone says, those activities aren't happening this year. So I guess coming to Woodstock like not only the history part, but the nature part of it. So we have great trails. Not only is there a waterfront access, like for if you want to come and bring your kayak and that sort of thing. We have two rivers, the St. John River and the Minoxicade, that meet in our downtown. And there are a few trails that connect that way, but there's also the Meduxnekeag Nature Preserve, which is a preserved nature, and they have like 7 or 8 different trails out there. They're all color coded, and they're all the difficulty's all different, but we have a lot of people that have been visiting the nature part of that this year. I guess, and then when you stay here, we have different bed and breakfasts and different hotels and 2 campgrounds, one located in town and one outside the town. So I guess coming to Woodstock, we offer a variety of activities, a variety of places for all different walks of life.
Excellent. I mean, it sounds like somewhere right up my alley, but first and foremost, I need to know more about the stamp story.
Oh.
Okay. It's one of the best stories. I think that is one of the like just iconic New Brunswick stories. I feel like that story just epitomizes what I think of New Brunswick. These people who are just like, I am doing this.
Yeah, like,
but then it somehow becomes this like humble, forgotten thing.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That is so New Brunswick to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have this gentleman, Honorable Charles Connell. I just want to make sure that I get it all.
Yeah, I guess my thought was like, do we know why he did it? And then what was the
repercussions? Because he could.
Yeah.
He could.
Yeah. I don't believe he stayed in his position of power much longer after that happened. That was the repercussions in my memory. Yeah, took it a little far.
Yeah, and like the story is that it was the stamps that he collected were all to be burnt. I believe right here in the back of his residence or in the postmaster, whatever sort of thing. And so that's why, I mean, obviously, if you put your face on a stamp, you're gonna keep a few.
Yeah,
Someone bought them, right? So yeah, so that and then you got the whole Connell line that continues on and the history and that sort of thing. And actually, Charles Connell and L.P. Fisher were related, like their families are intertwined and all that sort of thing. So that history in itself is so interesting for our community.
And I can't remember the number offhand, but I remember just recently reading about him and the stamps, and those few that did survive are worth like several $1,000s now. These, it was supposed to be what, like a 5-cent stamp or whatever, right. And now it's like thousands of dollars if you can. Yeah,
I guess that's what happens when you put your face on a stamp. 100 years later, you're that famous.
I want my face on a stamp.
Yeah.
Cool.
Tell us about some of the other kind of iconic things that are in your region.
Well, in our region, obviously, we live in the agricultural belt of New Brunswick. We like to call ourselves. So we are closely connected with the town of Hartland, the town of Florenceville, Bristol, and the village of Perth Andover. So if you're coming to Woodstock, we have great things, but you can also visit the local. I mean, you're within 30 minutes. There's the Covered Ridge Potato Chip Factory, Moonshine Creek, which are both at the same exit. And then
off the highway.
Right off the highway.
Yeah.
And then in Florenceville, you have Potato World and the Shagamock. And then they have actually in their Andrew and Laura McCain gallery, they just put up a new sculpture outside. And the further you go up the river, like everything is tied to the river. Like in Perth Andover, they have their waterfront where you can rent kayaks and dock your boat and all that sort of thing. So everything we have in the region, which we've worked in the past few years to market ourselves that way, is that everything is close by. So yeah, like there's so many things that I think we underappreciate because we're so used to it.
Yes.
And now this year, everyone's has been, wow, I didn't know that existed, or when did they put that there? It's been there for 10 years. Have you not noticed? So, and they've all done so well with outside visitors that now I hope they're doing well with people who are from New Brunswick and who are from the region, or who are going and seeing what we have.
I have read an article earlier this week that tourism from New Brunswickers in New Brunswick is up for the first time in years and years and years and years, which is awesome. So if you had family coming from another part of the province to come visit you, where are you taking them?
Well, it all depends on what their interests are, but obviously here in our region, if they were into the art scene, we have Creek Village Gallery, which is downtown here in Woodstock. And then we have a lot of artisans that have some shops outside in the rural community. And of course, the Andrew and Laura McCain Art Gallery. But then there's the people who are maybe on the nature side, or the people that are on the heritage side, or the people who, want to go have a good meal. We have a lot of great restaurants, some of them that have been nationally recognized. So it all depends on exactly what they want to do here in our area. But I mean, in New Brunswick, this past weekend, my family just discovered New River Beach.
Mm-hmm.
I said, why have we never been here before? And so it was absolutely amazing. These little things that I think our lives get so busy. And in the summertime, we feel we have such a short window between vacation and doing all these other things. And if you have activities that your children are in, that you don't realize what our province is capable of that we've had all along. And,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, we just have all newly discovered these things.
I think you mentioned something there that I think a lot of people haven't been talking about a lot, at least in the things I've been reading and seeing in circles, is that I think it's really that shift in activities this summer that is helping New Brunswickers get out so much more, right? Because everyone has their 1 or 2 week vacation. Well, people didn't suddenly get more vacation time from work, but because everything else has slowed down, I think people are making more of those day trips and those weekend trips than they used to. And it really is making, I think, such an impact for all of us to discover these little areas.
There's a lot of camping that I think is happening this year too, right? Like so many people are getting on board with camping, and that's definitely something in the Woodstock area that people could do. Why don't you tell us about the 2 campgrounds that you have?
So there's Connell Park Campground, which is right here in Connell Park. It's close to the Air Motor Center, and of course a playground and all the ball fields and all that sort of thing. And Antworth family is the family who operate it. And it's a nice large open area that this past weekend they just installed new little putt-putt for their campers. It's interesting because you're close to town. You're right in the heart of town, but it feels like you're in an outside area because it's so open and grassy and, there's trees and stuff around, but you really are right in the center of a residential area.
Which is awesome, because then you convenience of everything around you too, right? Yeah.
It's interesting because some of the people who have campers in there, I have a friend who is a seasonal camper, and he lives like 2 minutes the way the crow flies. And he loves it. So shout out to you, Chris. Our other one, of course, is Jellystone Park. And if anyone has ever been there with a young family, it is amazing. The activities that they have that go on there daily. There are a few things that have changed, obviously, this year, but Peter and Janet Clark have been doing this for 30 years. I went there as a child camping, and they just, like, it's such a family-oriented, and of course, you get to see characters, Yogi Bear and Boo Boo and all those guys, and you sing songs, and you play chocolate bar bingo, and like, it's memories that are, my kids who are 15 and 18 years old, like, they remember going there when they were little and playing chocolate bar bingo and winning like 100 chocolate
Oh my
bars.
gosh.
So yeah,
Yeah, that'd stand out.
and they like, we're just so fortunate to have these two great summer amenities in our community, because we have people who also go and visit people there. They'll come from away or whatever, and stop and visit and spend the day in Woodstock. So
Yeah, it certainly is a fantastic location. That's when I came to know it, was the last couple summers when our family's been traveling to Quebec and Ontario. And from Moncton, it's kind of the perfect spot because you've driven
right.
just far enough. You really do need a break. And then there is so much. And there's, like you said, yeah, I think too that idea of two rivers coming together just gives it such a unique feel.
Yeah, and when you are in the downtown area where the rivers meet, I mean, there is the farm market that's right there on the corner, so you get to see the local wares and produce, or you could, there's a couple restaurants that are close by that you can enjoy an hour or so there. But what's interesting too is right where our rivers are is where our community college is. So with the exception of the winter time when it can be a little breezy down there, we're fortunate to have a nice large parking lot for people to park their boats, and whether it's your bass fishing, which is very, very popular here. We have 2 to 3 tournaments a summer. They use our boat launch, and we just, I guess, just realizing this summer actually, and I'm guilty of it because, I've been here for 15 years, and this is practically the first summer that I actually go down to the waterfront and have lunch. Never really done that before because you're just so constantly moving and doing whatever. So it's really nice to see a lot of activity happening with, just simple things, whether it's having lunch or fishing with a small child, or just exploring. Obviously the water is quite low, so we've had a lot of people exploring our shorelines, finding old artifacts from when the dam was built in 1967, like those sorts of things. There's remnants of old houses, or just different things that they're finding along the way and sharing that with us.
I can imagine that your farmers market, with, you said, being in the agriculture belt of New Brunswick, your farmers market just must be spectacular.
Yeah, we have, obviously, we've had the strawberry season, kind of moving into, I'm not sure on the blueberry season, but then, when we get into the fall with potatoes and squash and all those wares. So not only that farm market, but we have a couple other markets that are here in town. We have one on Connell Street, and then we have Strawberry Hill, which is an organic farm.
That's right, yeah.
That's up the river. And then there's a few that are on the outskirts that have just opened up. We have one probably in Quebec and one in Jacksonville. So we have a lot of that happening this year too. A lot of people supporting local producers, so that they've opened their businesses up, and it's always a good thing when you see that someone is sold out of something. It's quite phenomenal, actually. It's not due to shortage, it's just due to people are actually paying attention and seeing what our local people are up to.
One of the things that we've been talking a lot about with our guests this summer and with each other is that idea of, what is it that stands out to you and makes you proud to call New Brunswick home?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. when I ever went out of the province, whether it was for business or for pleasure, it was always that feeling coming home. It's the calmness, the beauty. I mean, any season, whether it's the apple blossoms or the maple leaves changing, or even the snow. I mean, everyone complains about our snow, but we have great winters. You know, we have great activities that communities put on. But it's the easement. You know, I always say sometimes, whatever the top story on the news is, that we're so fortunate that this is what we're discussing. We live in such a province that whatever it is, it's like, that's really not a big deal, but it's great because this is where we live, and we are safe, and we have lots of space, and obviously we've proven that this past year with how well our province has done with this pandemic. You know, we may really be socially distancing because we really are social distancing because of our rural communities, but we did a great job. We stuck together. I feel that our provincial leaders did a phenomenal job. I mean, at one time people used to shut down for whatever, but at 2 o'clock everyone went online somewheres to see where the update was and how well we were doing, and how we could help each other. So I think living in New Brunswick is just, you know, it's a great province. We have a little bit of everything, and now we're actually realizing that we do have a little bit of everything.
Absolutely. You're not wrong about any of that. I've been having so much fun this summer, taking my kids everywhere I can possibly get them so that they can learn about their province. I don't want them to be these kids that grew up in the city and didn't get a chance to explore this giant province above them that is their home.
Yeah, I know it's funny because there'd be times when my boys were in the summertime or the wintertime playing, whether it was hockey or baseball, whatever they did, and you know, oh, I can't wait to get wherever, and I was always like, oh, I can't wait to get home, because you know, you just, and every time we come, I always try to take a side road or whatever, instead of just focusing on the, you know, the 2-hour drive on the 4-lane highway, just to kind of stop and see what other things, you know, are on the outskirts of town. And you know, it's interesting to see. I always compared us to when the 4-lane went through that movie Cars and Route 66. And it's funny how we have come away from that whole 4-lane highway way of thinking, because now I notice, especially here, there's always there's a lot of traffic on some of the back roads, and they're not local people, and I think it's just people are starting to slow down and enjoy what the scenery is around them, or what they could discover, because you never know what you could find. You know, you might find an antique place. It's like, where have they been? How come they're not on Facebook? But it's because they're there, and they've always been there, and you know, or a little market where, hey, you pick potatoes up and you just drop your $5 in the bucket, and it's like, wow, this really does happen. So it's fantastic that we, you know, we do live in New Brunswick, and you know, I'm proud to say that I live in New Brunswick. Probably if you would have asked me that 30 years ago, I'd be like, oh no, I can't wait to get out of here. But it's interesting because now we have people who are moving home or want to call New Brunswick their home. So.
Both of us. Yeah.
I think that's such a good point too, though, about just getting off the highway. I think so many people within New Brunswick and without have that image of the highway, and it's a beautiful, safe, wonderful highway that gets you there fast, but it is the most boring drive I've done in this entire country. I have been from Newfoundland to BC, and driving through New Brunswick, you're just like, oh my God, there's not even a break in the trees.
Yeah. Like there's no landmarks. Before, if you were on the old highway, you'd be like, oh, I'm halfway there because there's so and so, or there's such and such. Now it's like, oh, where am I?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah, but as soon as you get just even that little bit off, there's so much to see. And then if you get even further off, you say, you discover these treasures that that's one of the most fun feelings too, of just like coming upon something. You're like, has anyone else ever done this? This is so fascinating.
Excellent. I think that that's a great place to wrap up for today. Tobi, before we go, how will people track down Woodstock? How can they get a hold of you guys and plan their trip?
Well, one thing we have obviously is our website, www.town.woodstock.nb.ca. And then, of course, we also have different social medias. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But everything you're looking for is generally on our website. Of course, it has all the different departments there, but if you go off to the left side of the menu, you will see Woodstock Tourism, and that's where you can pick up. Actually, this is our new guide, which
Awesome.
is great. Has all the information in it, so you can either pick up a guide locally, or you can go online and it's all right there in a PDF.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We're so excited to come in and check out Woodstock ourselves.
Well, great. I'd love to have you. So if you happen to be in the area, swing by and maybe I can give you a little tour or find someone who can get you into Connell House to check out that stamp.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.